What is going on, guys? My name is Owner Caffeine, and in this video we're going to talk about the best and the worst characters in a Valorant competitive setting. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright guys, so if you are unfamiliar with this website, it is called valofrags.com. I will leave the link in the description below if you guys would like to check it out, as well as make your own tier list build. So this is going to be a tier list from D to rank S, S being the best. So this is the Valorant tier list based on the opinions of the competitive community and Valorant pro players. Now this is mainly right, but I'll also tell you every single thing that is wrong with it, in my personal opinion. So this is all opinion based. If you guys would like to create your own builds and send them to me, I'm more than willing to check them out. Or if you're just angry and you want to comment that, go ahead. In this video, we're going to talk about, like I said, the worst to the best characters in my opinion, and what characters are essential for a competitive team. Now, this is a completely competitive standpoint. This does not really apply to casuals if you're playing with friends, like not necessarily seriously. But this is all in a, I guess, from looking at it from a pro's perspective and what we could see in the pro and the competitive scene. So, without further ado, the worst character in the list, starting down at tier D. We're going to go with Jett. And the reason I picked Jett is solely based off of her abilities. She has 3 smokes, each costs $100, and it lasts 2.5 to 3 seconds, but that's it. The visibility is decent in Jett smokes. Her only other abilities are just sheer movement. So granted, she's good for getting entry frags, and I know you Jett mains are probably fuming right now, especially my boy Upstate Dabber, or Jake. Don't tell him I put this down here. But sheerly from a team perspective, she is not really useful in any kind of way other than getting entry frags, in my opinion. She is good for a pub stomping character, so if you just want to mess around and, kill people in casual games, it's, if you just want to absolutely fuck on them and use your abilities left and right and outmaneuver people, then by all means. But typically the plays that I'm seeing with Jett are sheer solo abilities. I don't think I've seen a decent clip of Jett actually contributing to a team's win. Not saying that she can't, but sheerly from a defense perspective, her smokes can't really hold pushes, like, at all. Her jump cues, you're able to hear them, so you can predict where she's going to go. And her dash, you can see where she goes, so if you have good enough aim, you're able to kill her because of her gun pull-up time after she dashes. So that's the reason I'm putting Jett at the bottom. So in the C tier, I know I'm going to have a lot of disagreements here. I'm going to pick Omen and Raze. So the reason I think the Valorant tier list is absolutely wrong with Raze coming out at the bottom, that would essentially mean that she contributes nothing to the team in a competitive sense, but that's not true at all. So Raze is also another entry fragger. She's able to use her abilities to get up into higher places, such as I mentioned with Jett, but the reason I put her in this tier is essentially just for her ultimate and her grenades. So Raze can easily stop a rush, for example. Long C on Haven, the 3-site map. If you're pushing down Long C and you have a Raze there and she tosses a nade anywhere near your team, it's kind of a given that she's going to do damage. Her boombot is deadly in 1v1s. So you just, say you're retaking the site. Let's take B, for example, in Haven. You throw the boombot to the right side of the site and you clear the left. If someone is on the right side where you threw it, you're going to know because it alerts you exactly where people are. I've also seen some nasty combos of people throwing their satchel down and boosting their boombot over walls and killing people like that. I've seen them throw it into smokes. I've personally been killed this way so many times, and it's so frustrating. But you throw a boombot into a smoke, and you you can hear it coming, but you can't necessarily react and shoot it in a smoke. So by the time, if you're playing a close angle, you're pretty much dead. Or at like 1 HP. So, and her ultimate is obviously pretty nasty if you can hit it in a group scenario. Say you're taking the site, or if you're defending a push, she can be pretty lethal if you use her correctly. But other than that, she doesn't necessarily help execute a site in any way. She is essentially just a frag-based character. So that's why I say she's not good in the competitive scene, because it's more about just getting frags for your team. The reason I put Omen in tier C as well, I feel like Omen could be better. They did buff him a little bit, also with a nerf as well, to help people kill him easier out of his ability, or his ultimate ability. But at this point, I feel like his ultimate ability is essentially just a bait, or to switch it up. So for example, say your team is pushing, a site, and you have your ability, and most of your teammates get killed, and you feel as if the enemy team is already rotated towards your position, you can ultimate onto the other site. But other than that, you may be able to get 1-2 sneaky frags if you teleport into their spawn or something, but again, it's predictable because people expect that to happen with Omen. His teleport, I think, is trash. It's awful in my opinion. You can do some pretty nasty stuff with it, but you have to be it's so situational based that it's not going to work every time. His teleports are pretty predictable in, retake scenarios and stuff like that, so just in my opinion. His flash has become easier to hit than it was previously, but I still don't feel as if it's consistent, because now the players that are about to be flashed, they have a little warning, like a smoke screen around the borders of their field of view, so you kind of know when the flash is coming, so you can kind of predict where it's going to go. Other than that, I do feel as if he has the worst flash ability in the game. And personally, I have played a lot of Omen, and I'm probably bad with him, and I've seen some good Omens, but truly, I don't feel as if he contributes to the team other than his smokes. His smokes are pretty nasty. You can throw them pretty much anywhere on the map, and they last a good bit, but the fact that I feel that his smokes are also one of the worst in the game is that you can see them easily. And they don't do damage to you, and like you walk into a smoke, you can see everything inside as well as outside coming out. So that's the reason I put Omen there. So the B tier, I'm gonna have to go with Viper. And the reason I'm gonna put Viper in the B tier, I know she can be nasty. She's more of a clutch character in my opinion. Her ability is essentially based on clutch scenarios. Her retake slash her execute for bomb sites is pretty nasty when you learn the lineups. So the smoke wall, for example, Swoony or Vinyl, however you know him as, that plays with me constantly on stream, which, by the way, the link is right here. I will leave it in the description below if you guys want to follow me. Appreciate it. But I play with Vinyl a lot, and he has learned the lineup for Viper, smokes, and walls. So she can be pretty good in that aspect. Her acid ability, I don't know what it's actually called, but her Molotov, basically, I feel as if it's kind of useless because it's supposed to act as a Phoenix Molly or a Brimstone Molly, for example. But you can B-hop through it in one jump and take 6 damage, I think it is. So one jump through it, and you take 6 damage. So it doesn't necessarily stop people as it's intended to. Her smokes, like I said, is pretty good, and her wall is pretty good just for the decay aspect and the fact that you can't really see it. So she's good for executes, but I wouldn't necessarily put her any higher than B, just for her sheer ability's sake. So getting into the A tier, I'm gonna have to put Sova and Phoenix in the A tier. And people may call me biased because I'm a Phoenix main myself, but I also feel as if I'm being a little modest here by putting him in the A tier. So we'll start off with Phoenix. So Phoenix's flashes are among the best in the game. He can flash at pretty much any distance as long as you're looking at it. It's fast. It's extremely hard to react. like once you see the flash coming, you're pretty much blind. And if you're blind, you're most likely dead. His wall is essentially acts the same as Viper's. It can do damage as well as block a line of sight off, so he's very, very good at entry fragging. His Molotov, it acts as Brimstone's, so it's pretty good. It does exponential damage, so the longer you stand in it, the more damage it does. And I've got some pretty cool kills on Bind Teleporter, for example, by just throwing it through the teleporter and have another teammate watch through hookah, and I've gotten 2 kills before just because they don't have anywhere to go except stand in the Molotov for 3 seconds and they're dead. So Phoenix is good in that aspect. I think he is one of the best, probably second best entry fragger in the game. He's also good for defense. His wall can stop pushes for the most part if you pair it with a molly. If you flash, your aggressors as they're rushing you or peeking, you're always going to have the advantage. So that's why I feel as if Phoenix is a very well-rounded character, but his X factor is easily the self-healing ability, as well as his ultimate ability as well. So if you guys didn't know, say you're at 10 HP and you don't want to use your abilities to heal right away, you can ultimate, and as soon as you come back to your body, you have full health. So you're pretty much instantly healed. His ultimate can get so much information, especially when using it early round to go into a bomb site, for example, or even post-plant. So say you're trapped in a post-plant position and you ult out, you have so much information around you. So he's also a very good information character just for his ultimate ability. So that's why I put Phoenix at the A tier. He has a lot of X factor abilities, and he's a very well-balanced character, in my opinion. So enough with the bias on Phoenix's end. Another character that I'd like to kind of debate would be Sova. I could even put him in the B tier, which I know a lot of people aren't going to, necessarily agree with me. I think on the Valorant list, they put him as S. I highly disagree. Highly disagree with that. I say he's B+, A-, anywhere in between there if there was a tier for that. So the reason I say that is because I don't feel as if he's one of the best information characters in the game. I feel as if Cypher is. So obviously with the remaining characters up top in the S tier is going to be Cypher, Brimstone, Breach, and Sage. So, and even Brimstone really could be argued it as A tier. So you can even drop him down here possibly into the A tier. But we'll leave him up in the S tier for now, and I'll get to him in a second. But to focus on Sova. So Hiko, the former CS professional, put it this way, and I feel like I'm going to steal his quote for a second, but it's kind of genius when you put it this way. So Call of Duty professionals are notorious for watching VODs of each other before they go into a match. So you kind of know what your enemy is going to do, and not only in execute, but where they typically tend to sit on bomb sites, what rounds they push, what they do for ecos, all that kind of stuff. I don't really need to dive too much into it. But say you're a Sova and you know some nutty site recon air lineups, then, teams are eventually going to figure out where you shoot them, and one bullet and it's gone. So that's why I feel as this recon arrow is kind of weak. But if you do have really good lineups, and say you're playing in competitive or even casual for that matter, and you know some good lineups, you have so much information based off of that. His shock dart arrows are trash in my opinion. I think they do 80 damage without armor. I think they do like 50 or something with armor, if I'm not mistaken. But they don't kill unless you hit someone twice with a shock arrow, or they're low and you're 100% confident on where they are. So, and even then you have to have a lineup or a bouncer of some sort and kind of get lucky with the shock arrows. So I've seen some good plays with them, but I've also personally avoided his shock arrows very easily. So that's the reason he's not in S tier for me, or why I could even drop him into B tier, is because the shock arrows are dog, in my opinion. His owl drone paired with his ultimate is one of the strongest combos in the game, if you want to call it that. Pretty much getting a an owl drone mark on an enemy, and then pairing with your ultimate ability, you're almost guaranteed to kill every time. His ultimate ability is also good for like post-plant scenarios, for example. If you know exactly where the bomb is planted, or you have a teammate mark it for you on your minimap, and you hear a defuse, and you wait a couple seconds, and you fire the arrows, and there's not really much they can do about it, especially when you do 80 damage a hit. And you see them through the wall, so you know exactly where they're going to. So if it's a 2v2 scenario, and you and your teammate are playing super passive and just playing for the bomb where it's planted, he can be super strong in that aspect. So that's where I would put Sova. I don't think he's S tier at all. I think that's completely wrong, just in my opinion, anyways. So now diving into the S tier, we'll start off with Sage, because when it's all said and done, she is the best character in the game. By far, hands down. I personally am not a great Sage player, but I've seen so many good plays with Sage. She is probably the best support character in the game. Her heal, disgusting. Her res is huge. No matter what round you use it in, even if you use it as a bait, for example, you're going to peek out and get a kill, when the enemy team is spraying at the person that's getting resurrected. You can turn a 2v1 situation into 2v2 and make it even, or have the man advantage after you're already down a man. Her res is huge. Easily the best ultimate ability in the game. There's not really much that you can say about having a man advantage or getting a player back, for example. So her slow abilities, I believe they still last 15 full seconds. It might even be 10 now. Absolutely disgusting. There's nothing that you can do if you have a relative guess at where a player is sitting, post plant, and you're trying to defuse. There's nothing that they can do to get to you if you get that guess right. Her wall, even though they nerfed it to where you can't just put it on levitating surfaces, which I fully agree on, her wall is still one of her strongest abilities, if not the strongest. Her wall can just be used in so many different scenarios and different plays, and Sage all around is nasty, and I'm pretty sure that's well established with everybody in the Valorant community. And I believe she's S tier on this list. So Sage is easily the most disgusting character in the game. And the most essential. I feel as if not one competitive team can go without a Sage, because the only player that's able to actually heal himself other than Sage is Phoenix. But you're not even always going to have a Phoenix on your team at all times. And Phoenix is more of, like I said, an entry fragger, so he can't carry the team in the healing aspect, for sure. So, anyway, Sage is essential, in my opinion, to every team. The next character going into the S tier would be Cypher. Cypher is incredibly annoying to play against. His tripwires are annoying. You can have some pretty much guaranteed lineups if you know how to place his coins right, to get a stun, and not only a stun, but have so much information. Cypher can essentially stop a flank with no problem, depending on the map. He can also just leave a bomb site wide open on defending, and just go and support at another bomb site, and just check on his camera every once in a while. So his camera lineups, and some of them that I've seen, are so bugged, like looking through boxes, putting it up in a tree to where the enemy can't see it, and then after you even tracking dart them, you have so much information as well. Stealing another quote from a former Counter-Strike professional player would be Shroud. And Shroud put it this way: say a team on attacking goes into a default. If you don't know what a default is, just go ahead and look it up. But a default position on attacking. And say a player pushes, and Cypher has his ultimate, and he throws it down, and you know where everybody on the map is sitting. So you know immediately from that moment where to push as a bomb site. And typically you're going to win that round every time, if your team is good at executing. So he's so disgusting on defense, I can't even put it into words, really. Like, he can quite literally shut down a whole bomb site and their push altogether with not only his recon, or not his recon, but his coins or his tripwires, and his cage as well. It's even though his cage doesn't do entirely too much other than block your field of view as well as slow you down for a second, if you pair that with his tripwire, your push is done for. Your team is done for. So, and like I said, he can completely abandon a bomb site if he's good enough and can rotate fast enough, and just watch with his camera, and then you have so much information. So, Cypher is easily the best information character in the game, hands down. I don't think he's a clutch player, which a lot of people are saying that he is. I don't feel as if his shining moments are in clutch positions, by the way. Brimstone, I can honestly put him at A. He's probably one of the most debated characters between going A and S. We'll even check. So they put Brimstone at A, and I can understand that. And I can almost put him at S just solely based off of his smokes and his ultimate. His smokes, hands down the best in the game. No contest with anybody else. His smokes block line of sight. He can throw them essentially across the map, and he has 3 of them. So that is blocking off pretty much an entire bomb site if you know exactly what you're doing on executes. His ultimate 1v1 ability is pretty disgusting. I've been killed by it, myself. If you go to tap a bomb, for example, in a 1v1 scenario and you can't get out in time, or you're low HP, drops the ult on you, wins the round every time. Say the enemy team on defense, for example, is pushing through a choke point such as like hookah, and you have a player coming behind them, from a different bomb site, and they're starting to push onto a bomb site, you can just drop his ult into hookah and get 2, maybe even 3 kills if you're lucky. So his ultimate is pretty disgusting. His one ability, which this is where the debate comes in for me, is where he could be placed into A, is his stim beacon. It's fun, but truly I don't think it does a lot for the team. His Molotov, it's good. It's exactly like Vipers and Phoenix. Exponential damage, you throw it into a corner, that corner is essentially cleared. So his Molotov is good, but the reason I would maybe even put him into A, which honestly I'm going to do it now, is just based off of his stim beacon. If it healed, he would easily be an S-ranked character, but it doesn't heal, just you shoot faster. So, I mean, it's fun, but all in all, it doesn't do too much for the team. So, but he is easily could be debated for the most essential character in doing executes on attack. So, and the last character that we didn't mention is Breach. So, I know a lot of people have been arguing if Breach can maybe even go into the A tier, but as we are here, Breach, in my opinion, if you know exactly how to use them and you have a good Breach on your team, you are almost unstoppable, and you can place strategies based solely off of one character, and that would be Breach. Clearing corners, using his Tremor ability, for example, and stunning players, as well as, I don't know if it's his C ability, but it's one where you place into a corner and it slowly charges up. If it hits you, you're dead. One shot. So, I forget what that's called. Feel free to remind me in the comments section. But those 2 abilities alone, essential for taking bomb sites. His ultimate can be debated, along with Sage, as the best in the game. I would say it's the second best ultimate in the game. You can quite literally ultimate an entire bomb site, and if your team is good enough to push in right after that, you guys essentially have taken the bomb site and made, a 5v5, either a 5v3 or a 5v2, depending on how many people were on the bomb site. So he is almost essential for an entry fragger or an attacking player. He is also one of the most balanced characters in the game on defense as well, solely because he can stop a push very easily. His flash is probably the best in the game. So his flash ability, he can literally shoot it at a wall and flash everybody through the wall. And that is nuts when you think about it. Especially the Counter-Strike players out there, that is disgusting. There's nothing that you can do to look away. You may hear it charge up for half a second. Doesn't matter, you're probably all blind. So, Breach is easily the most disgusting entry frag character in the game. But yeah, guys, that's where I would place my character tier. If you guys would, like to pause this, take a screenshot of it. Maybe you want to debate with me in the comments. Obviously, my opinion is different from the opinions of the community competitively and Valorant pro players. So, obviously, my opinions differ. But this is where I would place, all the champions or characters in a competitive, solely competitive scenario if we're defending and attacking. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something. If you guys would like to ask me some more questions or suggestions in the comments, please drop them below. Feel free to debate with me. I'm always open for a debate in the comment section below as long as it's friendly. So I appreciate you guys for stopping by and checking out this video. Hope you enjoyed your caffeinated beverage of the day. You sit back, you kicked back, and you relaxed. And once again, my name is Owner Caffeine. Peace out.